Am I the asshole for making my soon-to-be mother-in-law cry? I, 30 male. Supposed to get married to my husband, 30 male. We are engaged. We had no problems up until now. For privacy reasons, let's call him Jack. Jack and me started dating about 4 years now. His parents know that he's gay. Now getting to the issue, Mill would show up at random times of the day to plan our wedding. I had to cancel many events that I made with my husband because she would show up. She tried telling us that we needed certain colors to the wedding, a specific area where we needed to get married, so on and so on. She wouldn't let me put in any opinions. My husband is the one that wants a big fancy wedding, but I don't really do good with planning, but I should get at least an opinion on what we're doing. Like where we're getting married, color theme, etc. This would continue for weeks. She would try to control every little thing to our wedding. I picked out the suit that I wanted to wear and she demanded to see it, and I said that she didn't need to because it's how I liked it. And I don't want her ruining the one thing I could pick out. She didn't say much, so I thought that was the end of it, so I went to go talk to my husband for a little bit. I went in my room to grab something and I saw her snapping through my clothes trying to find my suit. Of course I got mad. I told Jack that I was upset about it, but he said it was no big deal, but I wanted it to be a surprise for both my husband and everyone else. It was a really nice suit. It was the first time that I ever spent a large amount of money on something special. So I started yelling at her that she had no business snooping through my things and that all she's been doing is controlling our wedding that's not even hers, and that she should be uninvited to the wedding. I also told her that I don't get how my husband can be so attached to her when she does nothing but snoop in people's business and try to control every little thing in their life. She started tearing up and walked out of the house, and my husband started yelling at me saying that I was a big asshole for making his mom cry. He left the house and Mill texted the entire family, and they all are on my husband's and MIL side. So am I the asshole? Edit: this is not really an update on the situation. But I've been seeing a question that I'm going to answer, and I want to give more detail on my mother-in-law since I didn't give much detail on her in the last post. The question I've been seeing: is she paying for the wedding? No, she is not. She hasn't put a penny into this wedding. She picks out the things and it tells to pay for it, which my fiancé gladly does for her. He also didn't even pick out much for the wedding. Here are some things that my mother-in-law would do to me that I've noticed throughout the years that I've dated him. She would make fun of my job, saying that I do not make enough to provide for my fiancé. Like I said in the last post, she would come over to our house unannounced and we would have to cancel our dates. And things that I had planned. Every time she does this, I ask her politely to not do that and to tell me or my fiancé when she would be coming over so I can plan ahead. Every time I tell her that, she says, "Yeah, I'll do that," but never does. Every time she does come over, she doesn't even say hi to me. She works right past me and goes to my fiancé and starts talking to him. I would also cook for my fiancé when she is over, but she says, "It looks bad," or, "I could do better for him." He never steps in and says anything to her. She's been doing this for years, come in my house unannounced and shame me on many things. This wedding was my limit with her. Not the asshole. Your Mill was out of line, and your husband is an a-hole for not stepping in sooner. Now you'll have his entire family's opinion of you sullied. This seems like a precursor to your marriage op. It doesn't seem like you'll be married to your husband, but your Mill as well. Seems crowded. Your fiancé is really letting you down. Run. He is always go to prioritize his mother and her feelings over you. At least you have seen it now before you are married, rather than after. There's a very popular saying on Reddit that it's much easier to dump a muma's boy than it is to divorce one. Not the asshole. Your fiancé cares about how his mother feels on this one occasion but has never bothered about the effect she's had on you. Oh dear. She's a nightmare. And I'm afraid he's a wimp. Give this wedding a long hard look. It doesn't augur well that he lets her behave like this. Not the asshole. I just want to know if I'm in the wrong. Am I the asshole for hating my family because of how they constantly comment on my body? I, 19, live with my mom and dad. All my life, I have been chubby. My parents always made comments about my weight, how I was too fat, needed to work out. My arms were too big. My stomach was supposed to be skinny. You name it, they said it. During my teen years, it got to the point where I wouldn't eat for long periods of time, days, weeks. I would only drink juice, water, or would just have snacks. I had headaches more often, I got dizzy or felt weak easily, and my parents never seemed to notice or even care. In my young adult years, I got sick of hearing the same things over and over. We've been struggling financially, so food isn't too much an option. Still, my mom would poke at parts of my body and laugh, telling me, "You're too big here, you need to lose weight there." It makes me upset, because due to our situation, I've only been eating once every 2–3 days. I've been told by my father multiple times to go on a diet. Eat a salad. Even one of my older nieces told me to exercise and I'll look better. The thing that really took the cake for me was yesterday night when my brother wanted to speak to me out of seemingly nowhere. My brother never calls me out of nowhere just to check up on me. My mom came into my room telling me that my brother wanted to speak to me. Out of nervousness I asked, "Why? What did I do?" She says, "He just wants to talk to you." I take the phone, we have a small catch-up, then he cuts and says, "Listen, I need you to do me a favor." He essentially goes on a 20-minute speech on how I need to go on a diet, how I need to go out and walk more, and how I shouldn't get offended when my parents comment on my weight since they're doing it because they care about me. He then goes on to talk about my ankles. Context: I have something called a high arch in both of my ankles. He tells me it's because of my weight that my ankles are the way they are. That my hips are too big and gravity is putting all that weight towards my feet and ankles. He tells me that I shouldn't be in my room all the time, and he said if I keep this up, I'll become obese. Or that doctors will amputate my feet and I'll be wheelchair bound, and nobody would want to help me. He says so much more, and just when I think it's over, he tells me to go hug my parents and tell them that I love them while he's still on the phone. I asked him why, and he asks, "Is that too hard for you to do?" In which, he's not wrong. I leave my room and reluctantly go do what he asks, but I just gave them hugs. Ever since yesterday night, I've been crying hysterically for long periods. I will admit, I'm sensitive, but that really hit the mark for me. I am unable to look at myself in the mirror. I've lost all motivation to do anything. Even when my parents brought me food this morning, I felt I didn't deserve to eat. I'm so confused on why my body is such a bother to everyone in my family. Even after I expressed how it made me feel. Am I the asshole for hating my family? Not the asshole. You basically just said, am I wrong for hating people who have been bullying me my whole life? Not the asshole. You need to get out of there as soon as you can. Absolutely nothing about what you described is okay. Your family are bullies and they're manipulative, too. Please, start trying to find a way to get out. You don't deserve that. Seriously? I'd have just hung up on him. They can't see that the talking upsets you, then they're not much of a family. Not the asshole. But, if I am reading this right, you need some serious therapy with a therapist versed in eating disorders. You should also work with a nutritionist. There is no shaming here. Just concern about what sounds like you have developed an eating disorder that is very bad for your mental, emotional, and physical health. Not the asshole op. It sounds like you are on the verge of developing anorexia. That can kill you. Get help, please. Am I the asshole for setting boundaries with my brother regarding his wife? My brother IB, idiot brother mid-30s, and I, 20s F, fought recently over some boundaries I set with his wife CW, cheating wife late 20s. The two of them are a constant source of stress for the whole family. They're always fighting, and trying to make it everyone else's problem too. They have 2 kids, 3, 7, and a third on the way. 2 days ago, it was recently discovered CW was cheating again. Shocker, I know. But she was bringing their 3-yo with her and leave them in the car, alone, while she was hooking up. And IB decided to forgive her. Yeah, you read that right. He forgave her for endangering their 3-yo child and leaving them in a car alone for an unspecified period of time. CW even admitted she was doing this in the middle of the summer too. They could have died in the hot car. IB then tried asking our older brother's wife and I to hang out with CW more. I think he's hoping that if she's with girlfriends CW wouldn't cheat and we could keep her in line. Frankly, I don't think anything could stop her at this point. This seems to have been going on for their whole relationship. However, I've long since reached my limit with CW. If the conversation isn't about her, she will make it about her. Every time she gets caught cheating, she plays the victim card as if it's not her fault she cheated on IB. Hell, on a previous confrontation about her cheating, she assaulted IB for not believing her lies about where she was and having evidence she was cheating. So when IB asked us to hang out with CW more, I felt I had to make it clear that unless I have to, i.e. for the sake of their kids, I will not have anything to do with her going forward. Their never-ending drama has done nothing but cause me constant stress and anxiety. I've already done my best to be LC with them as possible. CW can go pound sand for all I care. Or whatever random guy she's hooking up with that day. Our older brother's wife said more or less the same thing. She's also pregnant and is supposed to be on bed rest and avoiding stress as she has high blood pressure. Well, IB didn't like our responses. He called us selfish BTCHES for not even attempting to forgive CW. That she was the mother of his children, debatable, and that she won't be going anywhere anytime soon, so we might as well learn to get along. That he loves her and she loves him, again debatable. He finished off with a jab at why my ex and I broke up. Saying that since I'm so selfish and only think about myself, it's no wonder why he left me. I laughed and retorted, "That's rich coming from a man who can't keep his wife from running off to sleep with other men and asking others to keep her in line. There's nothing more selfish than people wanting others to handle their problems for them." Now he's mad and giving everyone the silent treatment. Most of us are enjoying the silence. I don't think I'm the asshole, but some friends I vented to said it wouldn't kill me to help IB keep CW in line to keep the peace. So, AITA? Not the asshole. Do those friends know about the leaving the child in the car thing? Not the asshole. As you've said, solving his problems is not your job. You are under no obligation to hang out with her. Not the asshole, and it seems like problem solved from your end. Not the asshole. Tell you brother, people in glasshouses shouldn't throw stones. Not the asshole. AITAH for removing my daughter from her bed at 3 a.m.? My 34 female daughter, 7, has been having a sleep regression issue for the last 6-ish months. Basically, she gets up 2-5 times a night. Almost every single time she tells my husband and I that she wants us to physically tuck her back in. She shares a room with 2 of her 3 siblings, not ideal, and will be changing. Whenever my husband gets up with her, the behavior gets more frequent. In my eyes, this is because he goes all in. Doing things like singing to her, cuddling her, talking to her, instead of placing her back in bed and going back to sleep. She basically gets a ton of attention with him at night and it makes her get up more. I've tried to explain this to him but he dismisses it, so I usually get up with her to try to curb the behavior by giving minimal feedback and just putting her back in bed. My daughter came to me at almost 3 a.m. and asked me to cover her back up. I was admittedly short and irritated. I took her back to her room and told her she is a big enough girl to cover herself with blankets. We'd practiced this and talked about it, so it wasn't like I was expecting her to do it herself out of the blue. She refused. So I told her good night. She began full-on screaming at the top of her lunges and crying. I tell her that I'm going to count to 3 and she can either stop screaming or we can go downstairs. At this point she's woken her siblings and I'm trying to contain the situation. I count to 3, she's screaming more. I lift her out of bed and lead her by the hand to the stairs. At this point my husband is up. He tells me he can handle it. I tell him I'm taking her downstairs to talk to her and to keep her from screaming where everyone sleeps. He tells me to stop. I tell him he's undermining me and to back off. He does step aside but follows me downstairs and is cooing to her the whole time and bringing her water. I repeat that I can handle it and to please leave us to talk. He refuses. I do manage to talk to my daughter, explain that she can't scream like that and that she needs to be a big girl and cover herself with her blankets at night. My husband hovers over my shoulder. I take her back to bed, she does cover herself up, and we leave the room. He immediately turns to me and tells me that I was abusing our daughter. That I can't convince him that what I was doing wasn't abuse. I try to explain but he ignores me and marches downstairs to the couch. I try to talk to him again and he just insists that I'm abusing our daughter. I was admittedly short with her, but besides leading her downstairs by the hand, I did not touch her and I don't feel I was overly mean in trying to enforce her tucking herself in when she finds herself uncovered in the middle of the night. So, AITA? Too long did not read. My daughter wakes up multiple times a night. In trying to teach her to take care of her needs on her own, I removed her from the room so she wouldn't wake up her siblings. My spouse is calling me abusive and mean. AITA. He immediately turns to me and tells me that I was abusing our daughter. He should be an Olympic long jumper with leaps like that. That's fucking wild. Not the asshole. Info. Do you have any idea why she's regressed like this? I.e., has more attention been focused on the younger 2 recently for some reason like sickness or because one is a baby? If so, it's probably her way of trying to get attention she might not be getting otherwise. Not the asshole, but your husband sure is. He really doesn't respect you and the abuse accusations are out of line. Does he coddle all kids like this or just the 7-year-old? Not the asshole. Your husband is seriously overreacting. You should however try to figure out why your daughter is waking up multiple times at night. Just putting her back, telling her to stay in bed is just symptom control. YTA. There's obviously something going on even if it is just a developmental milestone and she is seeking out comfort and affection. You want her to know she can't go to you for help because she's a big girl, so she should just stop expecting love from her parent.